Hi guys, welcome to the Front Forum Focus podcast. And today we are hanging out with Leland Zhang. He's the founder of Grassroots Academy. And yeah, I'd like him to do a small intro about himself.
Sure. So I'm Leland. I went to a decent college in US, so Northwestern University, before actually dropping out to build a startup. This is my second startup. My first one was more in government technology, but I'm currently working with two other wonderful co-founders on Grassroots Academy. We're trying to build pretty much AI tutoring, and so trying to change the way that how education works, at least democratizing the higher levels of education, working primarily at the high school as well as college level.
Yeah, I love that you said you dropped out. Then you went to work for, government, like you built a government, right?
Yeah, I actually was building that partly in school before dropping out, but then I actually left
Yeah.
that to build Grassroots Academy.
Cool. There's also this perception of like the role of like let's say higher education within society, these days. So how have you adapted through that by having your career, like dropping out?
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know about other countries. In the US, dropping out is becoming more of a trend, I think, for college
Yeah.
students. I think people are realizing that college is the primary value of college is probably the social network that you're getting rather than the classes and the professors and etc. And so once you really get that, I think it's especially when you're doing a startup, it was a waste of time in my perspective. I was like,
Yeah.
going to class,
Yeah.
I was like, this is I would rather just be building. So the
Yeah.
choice pretty much was very clear to me after that.
Yes. You can I feel like you guys are experiencing obviously like a shift, obviously within the education perspective. Now you are experienced within like college. How do you see you guys innovating the space so that actually people gain value from now, which is more focused to what people love to build than actually the other way around, where people are just being prepared maybe for jobs, and now like the traditional perspective for university, which I think is more focused on like jobs and stuff. Yeah.
So actually, I think that is a good question in terms of what direction EdTech is going in general. And so at the beginning, actually, we did want to optimize for the market of this learner wants to really learn something that maybe school can't provide.
Yeah.
It's a great direction, but actually, we still like to support that direction. On our platform, we offer courses such as intro to investing, intro to various careers like engineering careers, bioinformatics, like many different course subjects and options. But we found out that really to support a wider market of what most students want to do, they are primarily motivated by things like grades. And so really it's very hard to create a market for people that aren't really looking for something like, for example, learning something outside of school just isn't that big of a pain point for them. At least like what we're seeing here in the US where there's maybe more abundant resources. And so
Yeah.
that's one thing that's very cool about education. I think like the MOOCs, like massive online open courses like Coursera, Udemy, they're actually I think they're merging. Like those sort of forms of online course platforms, we're able to offer free or like relatively cheaper ways to access higher level education. And I think that is something that we don't see as much within the new AI tools. And so actually as we're building out our platform, we are keeping that in mind is that we're are also course driven with those available to people that don't have them. But the general market for people that are able to pay have been, um, pri
Yeah. So with AI obviously disrupting the edtech and also the way people are learning, what do you think is the life cycle for, for, like, let's say, like, just like a human being who is just going into school, like, from the first day? How does it, like, completely disrupt that learning or even shorten the period that one needs to take on and learn these skills?
Yeah, so it is definitely hard to predict where like how well AI can really do it, as well as how like receptive educational institutions are. And again, I think I can only, considering this is an international podcast, I can only really speak a lot towards the US probably, as well as some of China. At
Yeah,
least in the US, when it's like primary education, especially like middle school, like elementary school, where kids are younger, I think the human aspect of learning is still highly important. There's a series of schools called Alpha Schools based in Texas in the US. And what they do is they have AI teach basic arithmetic and reading, like that sort of stuff. And then the rest of the day is just for them to like play around with teachers and explore various different activities. And I think that probably does make sense to where AI can teach more effectively the knowledge and academic subjects. But at a young age, you really need to have lots of human learning, like learning how to be a part of society. And so I think more
yeah,
than ever, then humans are necessary for that portion. But then as you reach more towards high school as well as college, in terms of where people are able to be successful beings of society, like able to be motivated and go out on their own to socialize, then learning becomes either you can go down the route of, I think, making large programs where you can support like competitions and like entrepreneurship, etc. Or if you're, I think it's more knowledge based, and I still think knowledge is so essential in the future of AI, where a lot of the skills that humans are required to do is critical thinking. And so I think education plays a like the most vital role in that. And so I think lots of tools will be more catered towards that as well.
yeah. I like the way that you said, catering for kids. How, I think that, the earlier stages of learning from like primary school are helping the kids, also know how and how to live within the society. Now, how do you see, AI also supporting like different learning methods? Like for me, maybe I've been exploring like learning with kids with special needs, and also this can be a problem for like people who are also like into higher learning. I see like today there's many resources, so maybe from kids who are preparing like for high school exams, how do they actually like improve their learning methods and um, understanding based on like various resources, activities, and also like maybe distractions that are there in the current.
Yeah. I think there was definitely a lot of questions in there. I would say there's a spectrum of maybe what I've seen that AI tools tend to cater towards. On the sort of like lower efforts, or I should say more like that the student already knows how to study. Sort of like that's where I see a lot of the current AI tools are, where they just help you create like quizzes and flashcards, and then the learner just goes through them themselves. And then on the other very end of the spectrum, you're talking about people with learning disabilities. I'm not an expert there. We don't build specifically towards it, but I have seen definitely AI can be very, very helpful in that manner. And so I think that's definitely like a very, very promising room to grow. I've talked to teachers that have told me that this is a big thing that they are looking for. And so I think yes, that's a wonderful field. Where we stand in Grassroots Academy is probably somewhere in between. And so what we do is we actually target learners who maybe aren't that good at learning themselves. They don't know how to learn that well, and that's really why you hire a tutor, right? For those people that are able to
Yeah,
traditionally afford a human tutor, it's for those students who don't know how to learn well, and then the tutor can actually walk them through and help them be able to not only learn the topic but also learn how to learn. And so that's what we're trying
yeah,
to sort of democratize at a much lower cost, is being able to have that
yeah,
tutor that actually can walk you through that. And so yes, and for us, we're doing test prep, we're doing just normal grades, we're doing other subjects that the student may be wanting to interested in learning in. Maybe they are interested in like sports and sports analytics, and they can't find someone to
yeah.
teach them. That's sort of where we position ourselves.
Which which subject has been more popular within your class?
I would say definitely in the US we have something called AP exams. It's pretty much you can
Yeah,
get college credit for high school students. It's been like either AP or SAT, ACT. Um, is the most
Yeah.
popular. Imagine for like UK as well as some international, like that would be IB or A level is probably the
Yeah.
most popular. Talking about even like Chinese market, actually, what's interesting, I do want to point out, I don't know if it's the same for other countries like India or like Africa, but in terms of Chinese, the government actually
Yeah.
has banned education companies to explicitly help prepare for the Gaokao, which is their like college entrance exam. So we actually can't do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's definitely test prep is most popular.
So I mean, like most of these exams are usually like preparing you to go to college. Um, let's talk about how did you discover this problem? You yourself also like going to a cool university. So discover the problem for learning.
Yeah. I think we sort of came into it to say that we looked at what was existing, so which is like human tutors. And they already address a pre-existing like large problem of people needing to learn. To learn what it exactly, we actually figured that more along the way. But our primary goal going into this was just we saw what other AI tools were out there, and we thought that that wasn't anything close to what a human can actually do in terms of like teaching someone. And so we really tried to emulate that. In terms of like the use cases, we're actually probably still discovering it. I'm sure we're useful for middle schoolers as well as for other maybe higher education as well as into the working field use cases as well. But
Yeah.
primarily we began with the idea that human tutoring is so effective. I think there's been studies to show that people perform like 2 standard deviations better with one-on-one teaching rather than like group classroom. And so we really wanted to make that
Yeah.
much more accessible.
Yeah. So obviously we have seen like some really big AI companies who are within the space. Like would you say like people like Cluely are like competitors of your product?
Sorry, which company?
Cluely.
Cluely is not in our space. Cluely, I think they're doing AI meeting note taking now. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider them as part of EdTech space. I would say, um, EdTech as a whole, there are many companies, like startups, let's say. In terms of large companies, I
Yeah.
don't see many. I think probably for
Yeah.
a reason, like it's definitely a very hard field to get a good return. Like we're definitely doing this more
Yeah.
for mission oriented. I would say Google is the only company that comes to mind that actually I would consider as a big company trying to do this. So they have something called Learn. Like I forget the exact product, but it's still in beta. It's not fully public, and so that one is
Yeah.
personalized learning. So it would try to teach you a subject with the lens of your interest, which is something that we've always
Yeah.
been working towards as well. And so I would say that what they're building actually does seem interesting, and something that we actually
Yeah.
have similar in mind.
So, what do you envision being being within like the next 5 years of grassroots?
5 years is a long time. It's definitely a long time. I think one is that we probably don't plan to let's say like we're definitely concentrating on the technology itself, and then we really want it to be as close as possible, emulating how a human, like a really good human tutor can teach. That's probably our goal. Even at
Yeah.
5 years, also what we would want to do is actually we would want to become standard. So like for example, AP is a standard in the US for high school, and then for college there's many standards, etc. Actually, we do hope
Yeah.
to become a competitor in that standard because I think that right now having only one that monopolizes everything isn't very helpful to education as a whole. And so I think what
Yes.
education institutions need is more competition, to be honest, because
Yeah.
otherwise they move too slow. They only move according to what the job market shows, and their own within competition. I think that's very low. And so actually, I'd be very happy if we can join in and provide on that.
Yeah, I think that's like a really solid point. The education space has been really slow. How it has moved within like the decades, it's really slow. So I think also AI has given it like a big challenge because it has challenged it, to improve on itself, or rather like the shift will come and take over. Now you can see like people dropping out, people being self-taught, But there is also this thing where now also IoT, like I think like the EdTech space has been pretty slow because adoption of many of these solutions have been like a bottleneck. You can say like institutional wise, these guys have not been willing to adapt more of these like edtech solutions that are coming up. So, they are not, these kind of solutions are not able to grow and solve those kind of issues. So what do you see like also like within this the scope of things like IoT? We see like one technologies having their own bot that they said, can do stuff within the house. I think that can also do stuff within like, home teaching, homeschooling. So so what do you see like, also like the IoT side? Are you as grassroots thinking of like solutions for the future for IoT robotics where they can be able like to homeschool kids?
Homeschool is also a niche that we actually do participate well in, because having having a tutor by your side in a homeschool setting is very helpful. In terms of IoT and even robotics is quite far. Even in terms of I don't know of much solutions that are popular right now, to be honest. Also, education as a whole.
We have like OMI, which records like conversations, and it's also like uses that context. So for the context of for students, they can be like recording a whole day of classroom teachings, and they can be able like to search up that content to use for like preparations for exams.
So you mean just using a computer, right?
Yeah, for Omi, it's like a wearable device. It's like something you can wear. They have glasses too.
Oh, got it.
So it's like a necklace. They have a necklace which records audio, and like also glasses that might record like also video. And now you can search up that context. You can use that context to prepare like brief notes for
Sure.
preparation of things.
So I mean AR VR, right? In terms of AR VR, I've talked with a couple people that do work within that industry. I think it seems to be most helpful when the learning is on a subject that is something very hands-on, like something that is maybe like hands-on engineering related or like probably. I think that seems to be a little bit more specialized. I can see it being helpful, especially in the environment where you have to learn something that you don't normally get access to the normal resources for. That being said, I haven't seen, you know, a breakthrough in that yet. I feel like top companies that are innovating in that space obviously only know of, I mean, Meta is a big player. I'm sure there's other companies as well. I think there has to be a bigger
Yeah,
breakthrough for that to be
yeah.
actually viable for most people. But I know there is progress being made in that field.
Yeah, for me, I actually see like the shift has been obviously like for me, I would like see it like within like an institutional level. There are very many players who have done it but have not included it within education. So let's say like neurotech like technologies, things like Open BCI, which are studying the mind. We have always I saw something really nice like on brain kind of brain waves, like music that is able like to make you focus
Sure.
more.
Yeah.
So I think also like those kind of technologies obviously like support like learning, and obviously like they could be used to help like students with their learning activities, but maybe have not been directly affiliated to the education space.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the gap that is there within like the space that is leading to all these
I mean, so education is hard as a whole because number one, people don't have a lot. I mean, there's a lot of money in education as a whole, but in terms of consumers themselves, they aren't able to pay that much because education is free normally by governments, and so
yeah
government controls and when government controls things like that, when you divide the cost per student, it's very very low because they have to serve so many
yeah
different people, and government moves so slow
yeah
anyway. So that's definitely like a major, I would say, gap. So you have to make something that's really really um advantageous for the cost. Like it has to be super cost effective. In terms of something like, let's say, music, I mean, I can see that being helpful, but that's really just a supporting act that can't do the real learning. And then in terms of more advanced, like let's say like AR, VR, yeah, like those tools are just not scalable right now. I think only like major college institutions for specific classes would be actually willing and able to purchase and trial some form of those. And when we're talking about, like the millions of students around the world, there's no way that I see that being even a small percentage of students using those tools. And so I think it's definitely like why AI is so good is that you are actually able to have a chance in providing that large difference with very low cost. So that, I mean, that's why I think there's still lots of room to improve with the current AI at Texas. I think it's very nascent at its current stage, and there's so much more you can do. But a lot of it is more about like understanding, like deeply understanding learning behavior, student behavior, and then understanding how to actually build AI towards that. Yeah.
So let's talk about grassroots. I think that's like the cool place like now to branch off to grassroots and the
Mhm.
advantages that you have created within grassroots that you have packaged for homeschoolers and for for students. So what's that advantage for them, and what has grassroots done for them? Some of the metrics that maybe you have tried to see like but this really works. And with grassroots, the AI that we have built, these are some of the metrics that we have been able to see that are different from traditional tutors.
Sure. So one thing I would say is that we never really position ourselves as a competitor to traditional tutoring. I think we like even on our website we recommend if you're not able to have a traditional tutor, then we are like a good, like I think at the current stage most tools like AI tools in the market are more like AI note taking and then generate questions, which is important, and we have that as part of our product as well, but we don't really see much that are proactive in teaching. And so I would say that's like primarily where we're differentiated from. And then yeah, I would just say we also do recommend people that are able to afford human tutors that to actually have us on top. And in fact, we actually do partner with like we're beginning to partner with tutoring academies as well as like other like nonprofit college access organizations, etc., because we actually act as a very good supplement to them. Tutors are only there for a certain scheduled time of the day, and for when the times that they're not there, they're able to use Grassroots.
Cool. And are students able to create like custom learning plans, with your AI?
Yeah. So, it's very much adaptive learning, and so even the problems that you're given, the way that you learn is interactive in the first place, and so you are having a chat with someone who's actually leading you through things, and so the experience will be different for each learner.
So, you actually mentioned that you are also like engaging like tutors. So, within the long run, is it something that you can partner within schools also to offer within their students because it will be more of personalized learning and it can happen as a support for after school?
I mean, that'd be ideal, right? We are talking with some schools, but schools like selling to schools is long. It's very hard. I wouldn't say it's our priority at the moment, but in the future, that's such a goal that we can offer this to most students through the schools themselves.
So, and what do you think about like schools adapting AI? So, is it something that you see, the way that it is going, it is schools being forced to adapt the AI. So, how do you see that the transition with tools like obviously like Grassroots?
Again, I can speak primarily only on the US. So I actually don't know about like schools being forced to adapt. I would say the thing is that like some schools just are so much more willing to adapt AI versus other schools. And so I would say it's already like it's a huge difference. So like even within like the same city, like richer neighborhoods versus poorer, you can already see a huge difference to where only very few select schools are actually looking at AI, for those schools that are doing it, they're doing it very aggressively. So for example, like
Yeah.
one school that we're talking to, I won't list the name, but they're a STEM academy, and so they actually have they have specialized roles for people that are dedicated to their AI department, which is like
Yeah.
crazy. It's just a high school, and so like those schools are actually innovating upon AI and having the students build an AI, and it's very very advanced. But like the vast majority, I would say like 95% plus of schools don't even know about AI. Or like I would say I don't really have any plans about integrating AI at the moment, and so I think
Yeah.
there's a big disparity.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? With now like maybe like the mindsets for AI, what are the new subjects that you are exploring, teaching through using AI?
I think all subjects are still very important. New and trendy subjects are always there. AI based. So we offer things like AI for marketing. We offer even a vibe coding course, AI for software developers, as well as just like newer fields in, let's say, medicine as well, like CRISPR genes. There's I think every field is equally important, and I think there's something new in every field. I don't think necessarily like AI has changed so much in terms of like exactly what you should learn. I think you should still learn everything as much as possible, because I think AI can do a lot of work for you in the future and in your future job. But again, critical thinking is the most valued skill in the future, and so to build that, you can really learn anything important.
Yeah. So, what has been the most interesting moment for you when you're building grassroots?
So we actually work with students, so both high school and college students, and so they're actually able to work with us in iterating part of our product, and we provide guidance to them and like teaching them. I would say as an interesting overall, it's been quite fun actually to work with different high schoolers and college students. And again, I think someone who comes from maybe I still went to public school in the U.S. And then into college, but I guess the public school I went to was relatively good. And so when working with different students, and I actually go around doing different speaker series at different high schools. So like I actually go talk about AI. It's very interesting to see actually how different students are exposed to the world. So I'll give a specific example. When I went to talk about AI as a whole in terms of, let's say, different models, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, and then talk about AI as a whole. When I went back to my old school, like Hinsdale Central, people were already talking about how to exactly build different AI tools. Like the students were very very advanced. When I went to some other
Yeah.
schools in less advantageous areas, they have never heard of anything except for ChatGPT. Or Sora and Character.ai, which is like a platform. It's not great. It's just yeah, like funny characters. That's all they've heard about. Some schools like they had students really against AI because in the media they would see, oh, like AI is like boiling the ocean. They use up so many resources, and so they were really against the use of AI. So I think that's definitely very concerning. Is that
Yeah.
for many schools, all they have access to is their phones. And so that's their entire world of outside knowledge is just through social media. And if their social media feed isn't catered towards useful things like
Yeah.
technology, then they have no exposure, neither through their teachers nor through their world. So I think
Yeah.
that's something that was it was more surprising to me at first because I was just so used to the world of building in technology. And I think that's something that we
Yeah.
forget. I think really like we're here genuinely to support whatever the student is most in need of. If they're looking to bump their grade up, they've been trying really hard in school and they actually just don't know how to improve themselves. We're there for them. For people that are more advanced or like looking to upskill themselves or like learn a new topic as well, and learn something about AI, let's just say even, and taking a course in that, we're definitely there for them as well. And and again, I think we are. I think the big difference that we're trying to make here is that traditional like learning course, let's say you're watching a YouTube video or taking a course online, it's really hard for those to cater specifically towards you and then help you learn. And so we're really trying to help as many people as possible learn now. Whereas I think before those tools are only able to help really like the top 1 to 2% of motivated learners. So the hope is that we can target like the 80 to 90% of student learners for them to actually genuinely. Yeah, so AI.
Um,
So I can speak very quickly on this. So AI itself, I think like let's say textual and reasoning models has room to improve in exactly how to teach. I think more is what we see innovation in terms of like visual or like video generation. I see that also being like multimodal. So I see that being very big research in the future in terms of how that can best help education. It's definitely true that like people use AI to do their homework and stuff. But I think that's probably more going to be a change in how teachers operate rather than technology itself or like how students will be you know hindered or helped. I think students as a whole will have improved paced learning and will be more advanced than students in the past.
yeah. So, any last few remarks that you would like to, give to the audience about like grassroots?
Yeah, I mean, number one, we welcome anyone to try out Academy. We give free hours of tutoring without any credit card, and we'd love to hear from you. So we're actually trying to build features that are able to allow you to create your own courses, for example. And we really do see this as a future in having like a 24/7 tutor by your side.
So that's all for today's podcast. You can like and share. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Bye.